right, good evening and welcome to the Chike Onyia Speaks live talk show. First and foremost, I want to apologize for the short delay here. We had some technical glitches here, but you know, I'm a master of resilience. We always bounce back. I want to thank you so much for your patience tonight on the show. I'm really excited to be here. Guess who is in the house with me? It's the most beautiful woman on the planet. Lovely woman, great, awesome woman. I guess you know who she is. I talk about her all the time, right? It's my lovely wife, Dr. Azuka, Dr. Mrs. Azuka Onyia. You know, it's so funny. On the day I decided to bring her on the show, we have some technical glitches, and I said to myself, no way, the devil is a liar. Yeah, I'm a Christian. I'm born again. My wife and I been married for 27 years. It's been a great time, great marriage. And how you doing, my dear wife, darling, my lovely Azuka? You know, how you doing? Can you say something to the audience? Say something to the crowd. Share a few words with them. Go ahead.
Good evening, everyone, and I hope everyone has had a good week so far, and I'm so excited to be on the show. I've been supporting Chike on the sidelines for many weeks now since the show kicked off, so I'm very happy to come on live and support him in this show. So I look forward to us having a very engaging and fruitful discussion. Thank you.
Yeah, you know, I was telling her about coming on the show next week, and she said to me, you must be kidding. You know, it's your show, it's not my show. I don't like the cameras, you know. And I said, honey, you got to show up, you know. But anyway, she's not going to be available, she's not going to be around, so it's going to be me again on the show. If you're just joining us, it's the Chike Onyia Speaks live talk show. My name is Chike Onyia, and I want to start by telling you the purpose of this show. Why did we start this show about 7 weeks ago, right? It's very simple. The vision, the purpose is simple. Simple. To change one person, one family at a time globally. So if today my wife and I, through this discussion and engaging with you today, we're able to touch one life, one marriage, one family, we've done our jobs on planet Earth, right? So I want to get started. What are we talking about today? We're talking about, you know, physical and emotional abuse in marriage. And I want to start by telling you a story that I heard to lay the foundation here, right? There was a young woman, let's call her, let's give her a name, right? It's not her real name, obviously. Let's call her Jennifer. So I want you to remember the name Jennifer. It's not her real name. And here's the story. She told the story and said, look, it was time for me to get married. So I graduated from university, graduated from college. I had my degree. I'd done my NYSC, the 1-year service to the government in Nigeria. By the way, you know, if you're joining in from Canada, from the US, from California, from Lagos, Abuja, regardless of where you're joining in from London, we want to welcome you, right? Welcome to the show. And Jennifer had just completed her university degree. She had completed her 1-year service to the government. We call that the NYSC program. And she sought a job, right? She was looking for a job. And while she was looking for a job, her parents said to her, her family said to her, it's time for you to get married. And Jennifer was maybe 23, 24. They said it's time for you to get married. And she said her uncle said to her, there's a gentleman from our village, the same town, the same area, right? And I think he will be a good man in marriage. And the young lady, Jennifer, said, who is this guy? I don't even know who he is. And the uncle said, well, let me tell you something about it. He's built a big mansion in the village, has all these wonderful cars, these black jeeps that we drive in Nigeria and all that. I think he's doing very well and you will like him. Let's cut the story short. Guess what? Without due diligence, a proper background check, she got married to this gentleman. Guess what she found out? She found out that the guy was a drug pusher. He was pushing drugs. In fact, I was just reading in the paper today, I think the Nigerian Senate, I think there's a bill on the Senate floor now, you know, death sentence for drug pushers. There's a bill on the Senate floor. And that guy was a drug pusher and wanted to conscript. Of course, she found out when they started that journey in marriage and wanted to conscript her into the business. And she said, no way. No way. In fact, I'm a professional. I have a job working as a professional. I can't do this. It's against my ethics, my moral values, my family background, and all that. Guess what? The gentleman started to be physically abusive. Started beating her because she would not become a courier. You know, he wanted to come back with the drugs and have her courier the drugs from point A to point B, one customer to another, right? And she said, I won't do it as a professional. That's not why I married you. And he started to physically abuse her. At some point, she left the home, and I think she actually sought help, sought shelter at some home for women, for battered women. And she left that marriage. In fact, I think he took the kids. So she had no kids. She was battered. And she said to me, I'm actually homeless today. I live in a sheltered home for women. So on the show today, that's what we're talking about. Physical abuse. We're also talking about emotional abuse. Honey, can you say something about, what's this whole thing about? I just gave the scenario about physical abuse in marriage. But what's the part of the emotional abuse? What does that look like? Emotional abuse, what does that look like?
Okay, so the emotional abuse part comes when one spouse wants to dominate the other spouse.
Okay.
You know, and it comes with, it could be verbal,
okay,
it could be non-verbal. The verbal part, you know, demeaning words are used, you know, abusive words are used, name calling, you know. The non-verbal part, you know, just giving you the cold shoulder, you know, not acknowledging what you know, your contributions, making you feel less of a human being. All those, you know, verbal and non-verbal aggression, you know, could lead to, you know, abuse in a marriage or in any relationship for that matter.
I see. So,
and you know, just to add to this story of Jennifer, because I know Jennifer. Jennifer is a professional, so she's a smart, educated woman. So one would wonder, you know, how did she get herself, you know, into this mess? You know, why didn't she see this coming? You're a smart woman, you know, so why did you get yourself into this? So
interesting. Yeah, that's a topic for another day. A very smart woman. Well, maybe we'll talk about that today. Why do smart women, and not all women, we don't want to generalize, they're awesome. My wife is a smart woman. She married, I would say in my own words, a great man, right? So not all smart women, we don't want to generalize on the show today, men or women, right? But recently, my dear, just the last week, you and I have been reading in one of the newspapers, the periodicals here in Nigeria. And this newspaper, Nigerian newspaper, carried or featured 4 different couples who had migrated, I guess migrated at some point, the Japa syndrome, migrated out of Nigeria to different climes, like they use the word climes in Nigeria. It moved to the UK, the US. I don't know whether it was one in Canada or whatever. But what was common amongst these 4 couples is that the man in each of those marriages, the husband, ended up allegedly, you know, I'm a lawyer, I have to be very careful. Under the Constitution, the Nigerian Constitution, even the US Constitution, I'm a lawyer, you know, California license, the barrister here. The Constitution provides, the American and the Nigerian, you're innocent until you're proven guilty. So there are allegations that these 4 husbands actually killed their wives. They killed their wives. And do you recall, I mean, without obviously the name, without mentioning names or even the newspaper or whatever, but do you recall, what is it that would lead a man? And a lot of times it's the women that are involved in this abuse, although some men are abused too. But what would lead a man, a husband, to kill a wife? What did you glean from that newspaper article? Any thoughts?
You know, so one of the factors that exacerbate, you know, increase violence in relationships is stress.
Stress.
You know, stress. When people are unable to manage their stress levels, properly. One of the common denominators for those 4 couples is the movement from Nigeria to the UK to the US, caused severe stress, especially for the men. It took the men a while to find any kind of jobs. So let's say, for example, one of the men, was a doctor in Nigeria or an engineer or a banker. On getting over there,
right,
it's not easy to get a white-collar job. So that, having to deal, with that mental stress of, oh my gosh, am I going down? And so that was one of the factors that was common, between all 4 couples. And then in fact, all 4 of them, their wives worked, found jobs before they did. So their wives were the de facto breadwinners. And the men couldn't handle that. And because the wife goes out to work, there are kids involved, there's a house to take care of. The men found themselves maybe, being involved in domestic chores. Now they want to do homework, they do school run, take out the trash. So roles are reversed, and they could not deal with that. So it was something they were not prepared for. And I guess, could have caused, a lot of stress, and, they felt the way to handle the stress, is to use their fists and, one shot his wife, and I think the rest, about 2 or so beat their wives to death and all that. So that was their own way of, handling their stress, is to resort to violence.
Yeah, and just to add to what you said, I think the men had jobs at some point. They got jobs. One, yes, I think, was an Uber driver. One got a job in a supermarket, like a grocery store. But it wasn't befitting to him, because in Nigeria, say he was an engineer or something, it took a while. There, abroad, you got to do professional exams, right. So before you even get these jobs, for starters. So I think what you've talked about is the financial stress. Yes. One, and then maybe even the different culture. You're now in a different environment.
Yeah, roles are reversed.
So the role is reversed.
It's a question of the culture of where you find yourself. It's just within the home.
Yeah.
The roles are reversed. I'm now the one, the man is now the one doing school runs and taking out the,
trash,
the trash, and probably being expected to cook a light meal.
Cook a light meal?
Yeah.
But he can't cook. He never cooked in Nigeria. What do you mean
he
cook?
Never did in Nigeria. Well,
he never did a school run.
You gotta do school run.
The driver did the school run with the nanny.
Driver,
Oh, there's no driver.
There's no driver.
There's no cook. There's no nanny.
There's no nanny. You have to do everything yourself. So that puts, a dent on the ego of the man, and he's feeling, why should I do any of this? And so it's a very common occurrence,
right,
with migrant, families.
Right.
It's not just Nigerians.
Right.
With migrant families, they find themselves in a different environment. Roles are reversed, within the household, and both the men and the women can handle that. On the other hand, the women too feel, most women would, or some women would feel, an impact on that role reversal. All of a sudden, why am I the one having to take care of you? You married me. I have your last name. Why do I now have to feed you? And the women,
you mean like pay the bills?
Yes, I'm paying
buy
the bills.
The groceries.
I'm buying your clothes, as in,
What?
So, and that could cause, frustration, in some women, and the men would notice that.
Well, how would that frustration in a woman manifest outwardly? Is it what she says, or her body language,
everything.
What she does not do?
Her body language, what she says, what she does, and she could even tell you, why am I feeding you?
Oh, she can actually outrightly,
yes,
I'm now feeding you.
I'm now feeding you. And
we're in the abroad, and I'm feeding you.
I'm feeding you.
My gosh.
You know,
my
and
gosh.
like that. You know, my mother never fed my father. So why do I have to feed you? You know, so the woman too is struggling with that role reversal. And that could bruise a man's ego, and, you know, he may resort to violence.
I get it.
A lot of men will just probably leave the house.
Sure.
You know, but some will just...
They can't handle it.
Yeah, they can't handle it. And,
They don't have the
so
capacity.
they take it to the extreme.
They don't have the capacity to manage their emotions. If you're just joining us, I want to welcome you to the Chike Onyia Speaks live talk show. The show started a bit late. We had some technical glitches, but now we're rocking and we're rolling. I have a special guest in the house tonight. I'm so excited to have my own wife. I've been married for 27 years. And today my wife and I are marriage counselors. We're advocating peace and tranquility in marriage, happy marriages. You know what I'm saying? You live longer. There's peace and tranquility. There's joy. We've celebrated 27 years of love and just companionship, right? So thank you for joining us today from wherever you're joining. In a moment, we're going to open up the phone lines. We want to hear your own comments, right? The numbers to call 091-6000-2661 or 091-6000-2662. We're also streaming live on Facebook, on YouTube. You can leave your comments there. You can also go to Instagram and leave your comments, or on LinkedIn, and maybe we get a chance to read those comments. On WhatsApp, 091-6000-2663. So on the show today, we're talking about physical abuse, emotional abuse in marriages, right? First, we're looking at the causative factors. What causes this stuff, right? And then we're going to talk a bit about solutions and how, you know, you can. And the goal is to help one family today, one man, one woman, you know, to curb this malady, to stop this menace in society. How does a man kill a woman? Why would you kill your wife? Can I ask you a question before we go to the phone lines? We'll take a break in a minute. But why didn't the man just simply divorce the woman instead of killing her? Why don't you walk, like you said, some men will walk away. Why don't you just walk away? Yeah, why must you be physically abusive and emotionally? What is that? Why can't you control yourself? Walk away.
So most times when people hurt each other, like, you know, to that extent, they are under the influence of something. Most of the men in the stories we read were either drunk or were high on drugs. You know, so most times, you know, with your normal self, you know, there are certain boundaries you would not cross. Even though things have been upsetting you and annoying you, and you're frustrated, you know, you're in control of yourself and your senses, and you know, you may hesitate to do certain things. But then if you don't deal, you know, with that anger, with that frustration, and you let it fester, when you're drunk or you're high on drugs, you let loose.
Right.
So most of those guys, and that's why they couldn't control themselves.
Right.
And, you know, even if, you know, the guys were in Nigeria and they were working and they had a good life, just the abuse of substances.
I see.
And alcohol.
Right.
Can cause you to be abusive, either verbally or physically.
Right.
You know, you know, so it's you know.
So on top of the stress, they're already under stress in the UK, in the US, Canada, wherever they are, different environment, and on top of that, you're now drinking and using some drugs, and so it just aggravates, and you can just react at any point. But we know for sure that killing is a no, it's not allowed, right? It's just not allowed. So 091-6000-2661, 091-6000-2662. We would like to hear from you. Can you call in and share with us your thoughts? What causes physical and emotional abuse in marriage? What causes physical and emotional abuse in marriage? That's what we're talking about. We'd like to hear from you. You can send us a WhatsApp message, or you can go to any of our social media handles and leave a message. You can also send an email at chikeonyaspeaksshow@gmail.com, right? So let's take a short break. Let's talk a short break. When we come back, we're going to open up the phone lines and we are going to hear from our audience. On the show tonight with me is my lovely, beautiful wife, Dr. Mrs. Azuka Onyia, 27 years of marriage. I love this woman to death. You know what I'm saying? I'll take a bullet for her. Don't shoot me, but if you try to shoot me and my wife is there, I'm going to jump in and I'll take a bullet for this woman because I love her. I love her with all my heart. We'll be right back. Don't go anywhere. My name is Chike Onyia. Stay tuned. All right, welcome back to the Chike Onyia Speaks live talk show. Thank you so much for joining us. And thank you for your patience today. You know, we started the show late, but, you know, we're going to try to hang out with you for the, 10 minutes after 8 o'clock Nigerian time so that we can make sure we cover grounds. Welcome from Canada, the US, the UK, wherever you are, in Nigeria, all the way from Kaduna, Abuja, Port Harcourt, Owerri, wherever you're joining in. My name is Chike Onyia, your host. And my lovely wife, Dr. Azuka, is here today. You want to say something to them, honey? Welcome them to the show. We're coming back from the break. Say something lovely.
Welcome back. I was so excited to be here today, and I hope everyone has been having a great time so far on the show. Would like to hear from you, hear your thoughts. If you've ever experienced or witnessed, domestic violence, we would like you to share your story with us.
091 6000 2661 or 091 6000 2662. We're opening up the phone lines. Please call into the show. Let's have a conversation. Send us a message on WhatsApp 091 6000 2663, on our social media handles, YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, on an X. You can actually send us a message. We'll be reading your comments out hopefully tonight. So we're going to wait for the first call. But whilst we're doing that, we're talking about physical and emotional abuse in marriage. That's what we're talking about. And I want to share some insight here as to why somebody may become physically abusive or emotionally abusive in marriage. And that is the fact that this person, this human being, the husband or the wife, they're not skilled in the area of emotional intelligence, which is my area of expertise. We have a call. Hello, good evening. Hello, good evening.
Hello.
Yes, good evening.
Yeah, good evening.
Yes, tell us your name.
Menora calling from Owerri.
Who?
Menora calling from
Menora
Owerri.
from Owerri. You're welcome to the show. Please go ahead.
Okay, you asked a question. What causes physical and emotional abuse in
Yes.
marriage, right?
Yes.
Okay, physical and emotional abuse in marriage can stem from various factors, including unresolved personal issues, communication problems, power imbalances, substance abuse, societal norms, and learned behavior from past experiences or family dynamics. It often involves control, manipulation, and a lack of respect for the other people's boundary and well-being. So I think this is my own suggestion that can be a cause of physical and emotional abuse in marriage.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Menora. Thank you so much from Owerri. We appreciate that. 091 6000 2661 091 6000 2662. Did you get what's the essence of what she said? Did you hear any bit of it, honey?
Yeah, she's right. She says according to her, there are various factors that could lead to emotional and physical abuse in marriage. And one of the factors that resonated with me is different family backgrounds. We all come from different families, and so the way your family handles a particular issue may be different from the way my family would. And so when the parties come together,
Right.
and they have these different upbringings, it could lead to to disagreements,
Misunderstanding.
yes, misunderstanding.
Interesting. It kind of reminds me of a story when you and I got married, and your background, I guess, when your dad, Chief, would go out, he would buy things in bulk for the house, groceries. And in my house, my daddy or mommy would go out and they would buy single items per se, maybe Kellogg's cornflakes, maybe 1 or 2 packs, but maybe your dad would bring it in a pack of 15 for the whole 6 months of the year. And when we got married, I went out to the shop to go buy some groceries, and like my dad and my family, maybe I bought 1 pack of Kellogg's cornflakes. And you reminded me the other day that I only bought the kind of stuff we used to eat in my home. I didn't even think about you. So not only did I not align with how your dad used to go shopping, I was actually selfish, buying the stuff that I really wanted, and that created some misunderstanding and argument between you and I, right? Do you remember any of that?
Oh, definitely. How could I forget?
That's funny, man.
Really?
Really?
Yes, I come from a big family. I have lots of siblings. And so whenever, we went grocery shopping in my home, we always bought lots of stuff. And my dad never liked my mom going to the market, every day or every other day.
Right.
He always used to complain about that. So he always bought things in bulk, and so when we got married, you said you wanted to go to the grocery store, and you came back with only one polythene bag of stuff, and I'm like,
oh my God.
Is this it? I think that was like our first week of marriage, right?
Oh my God. Was it first week of marriage?
Mm-hmm.
Very, very, very interesting. Oh my God. And that created, an argument there. It was a misunderstanding. I did not intend to hurt my wife's feelings. I was just operating from my own background. Now, think about it. We're still married after 27 years. So obviously, we at some point were able to resolve that. So when I would go out thereafter, I'll buy things in bulk like your dad used to. But that takes, okay, 091-6000-2661 or 091-6000-2662. So we've talked about several factors. Stress, and stress can come from work. Stress can come from lack of finances. Stress can come from reversal of roles, like you said, especially when people are living in the abroad, right? So this jackpot thing is not, jackpot, but it might not be as cozy. We lived in the US for many years. We know how tough it is to live abroad, right? So it can be very stressful. Hello, good evening. Hello. All right, 091
Good evening, sir.
Good evening. What is your name? Where are you calling from?
Oh, my name is Lawal Alima from Lagos.
Sorry, I didn't get that.
Lawal Alima from Lagos.
Go ahead, Halimat. Go ahead, Lawal Halimat. Go ahead. A regular caller on this call. Yeah, go ahead.
I think the real cause is lack of love. All other causes lead to lack of love, because with love, every other thing can be managed. Both the stress, the different family background, the pressure, and everything. Once you're in love with someone, you would even think of hurting them physically, not to talk of emotionally. Because to me, it makes no reason why a partner should be envious of another partner's success if there is love. So it's definitely due to lack of love. And I want to think that you've fallen out of love with someone, instead of hurting them physically and emotionally, why don't you just leave the marriage or find a way to resolve it?
Thank you, Halimat. Brilliant. Brilliant. What do you think about that? She makes a very good point. Love. Let me get your thoughts on that, hon. Love. She says when you love somebody, you don't hurt the person.
Well, that is true.
Right.
Generally. And that is true. But, we know a lot of people not a lot of people, we know some people.
Right.
Who are in love but are in divorce courts. Sometimes life happens, stress happens. And, you just find yourself not being able to, to cope. And that love kind of like, takes the back seat. But she's right, generally, if you love someone, you wouldn't want to hurt that person. And when that person tells you, this thing you're doing or you're saying is very hurtful to me, if you truly, genuinely love that person, you should stop and correct yourself and do the right thing to make your partner happy. Like you said, we too, we lived in, we lived abroad.
Yeah.
For a long time, and we faced the struggles. So we understand when, people who were born and raised in Nigeria, relocate outside the country and they have to deal with the stress of living outside the country. I understand that. The thing like, Halimat said, the key thing is love. The Bible says love covers a multitude of wrongs. So if you have that love, it's going to cover, a lot of the things that would ordinarily make, someone go bonkers.
Yeah. Hello, good evening. Hello.
Hello, good evening, sir.
Good evening. Your name and where you're calling from?
Yes, my name is Liberty, and I'm calling from Lagos.
Oh, Liberty, go ahead.
Yes. So I want to talk, and my lovely wife here, look at, also want to talk to.
Okay.
So, what I want to talk about is one of the causes of emotional of abuse is that physical abuse is when the person comes from an abusive home. If the person's father he beats his mom, I think it's a major problem because the guy will grow up with that attitude because when there's an issue, that's the only way he wants to use to enforce his own power. So that's for me. So I will give it to my wife now.
Okay, great, great. Nice one.
Hello.
Hello, Dorcas.
Good evening, sir.
Good evening. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you.
Okay, go ahead.
All right. So my own perspective is that I feel for someone to come to the point of being emotionally abusive or physically abusive, someone, a person he or she thinks love, I think that the person has mastered how to communicate his or her emotions properly. Because if you're for one under emotion to graduate to a point of physical or verbal abuse, the person must have harbored, the feelings of or thoughts of such things to a point that is beyond the person's control. So I think to me now in female, it's more like the person has not mastered his or her emotions, and then being able to control it or communicate it with either the spouse or someone that can help. So I feel lack of communication and the lack of mastering your emotions.
Thank you so much. It's brilliant,
Thank
isn't
you
it?
very much.
Brilliant. Thank you, Liberty and Dorcas, Mr. and Mrs. You know, I used to be on the show with Chaz B many years ago, sharing life issues with Chaz B many, many years ago. And thank you to Chaz of blessed memory. Great guy, great mentor, brought me to radio. I always like to give a shout out every time I have the opportunity. One of the reasons why I'm able to do this today is what I learned from Chaz B. So there was a show we did, honey, and we had the same issue. And a man called in and said, listen, that's all I know. In my family, I saw my father beat my mother. So when my wife disrespects me, or when my wife does something, I do exactly what my father did, which is to beat her. So Liberty is right. That family upbringing, what you see your parents exhibit as a child, somehow, directly or indirectly, it's going to be inculcated into those children. And that's what the gentleman said. I beat my wife because my father used to beat my mother.
So for me, when his father beat his mother,
Right.
did he like that?
That's a good question.
So I don't know why he would perpetrate that kind of, behavior. When his mother cried and his mother was bruised, most children love their moms.
Dearly.
Most children.
Dearly. Sometimes more than the father.
There are outliers there, but most children
love their
their mothers. So if your dad was beating your mother, did you like that? So if you didn't, why do you do that? And that's one of the reasons why I like the Igbo culture. Of course, I'm Igbo,
Like da.
but I love our culture because, and if the listeners, if this cultural habit of the Igbos, resonates with them, they can go ahead and call in and let us know. Before a family gives their daughter away in marriage in the Igbo culture, they do an investigation. In fact, it swings both ways. Before the girl is married out, the father of the bride goes to check. They call it Ijuese. And the man too. Who is this girl that I'm married, that I'm about to get married? The family does that. They go. So if you do your investigation, if you Ijuese, and you find out that this boy's dad used to beat the mother a lot, or you know, they have a violent traits in their family and all that, that's when the family will say, no way, you know, this isn't going to happen. Even if the girl insists, you know, at least you are aware, your family has told you, this man is from a violent, you know, family, and so you're put on notice, you know. So for me, you know, that is one way to prevent, you know, or to manage, you know, any incident of domestic, you know, violence.
Right.
Do your due diligence. We started the show with you talking about Jennifer and the fact that Jennifer married a man that, you know, she didn't really know, because probably that due diligence was lacking, and they didn't go to investigate to know, who am I getting married to? Even if you want to rent a home, you want to rent a house to live, you investigate. Is the roof good? When it rains, is this place flooded? If you are in finance like I am, and you know, an investor says, you know, oh, they want to invest in this company, there is due diligence you do. You know, you do due diligence, tax due diligence, you know, legal due diligence, financial due diligence. There's all kinds of diligence that happens before that marriage of a business combination happens. How much more with a marriage between a man and a woman? You know, so anybody just jumping into marriage without, you know, doing that due diligence, you know, it's a recipe for disaster.
So if you're listening in, again, thank you for joining today. We just gave you one of the cures, potential cures to having a potentially abusive marriage. Do your due diligence. Get to know the person you're going to marry. Do what the Igbos do. Joy said, go and find out about their family. What's running in their family? Is there violence there? Right? It's so important to know who you're marrying. It's so important. Listen, this show is live. There are people who are not watching right now, maybe because they're not disposed. If you have benefited thus far from the show, make sure you take this video, YouTube, share the link so that somebody's life out there can be touched. We've talked about different causes, right? One of the causes, one of the things I wanted to mention on the show is the fact that, and I think Dorcas alluded to that, regardless of your family background, regardless of the stress you go through, regardless of whether you're in Canada, in the US, or you've jackpot, or you've moved across borders, if you learn the skill of emotional intelligence, it can help you deal with stress and some of these emotional issues that you may have. For example, people who are not abusive, physically or emotionally, go through stress, but they have this heightened level of emotional self-awareness. What does that mean? It simply means that when you're really stressed, when you're really angry, when you're really upset and irritated with your spouse, you tune in to those emotions and kind of engage your emotions to say, I'm really angry. And if I continue on this path, I may say something that would be emotionally abusive, or I may react physically. So once you tune in, it's self-awareness. The next step now is to then do something to manage that emotion. You can keep quiet. You can, take a walk so that you don't end up killing somebody. Therapy. If you guys are having issues in the marriage, you can seek therapy. People who are emotionally intelligent definitely go for therapy. We have somebody here on, YouTube, Messi. She says, this is a vital issue in today's marriages. Physical abuse is a serious problem, but we don't speak enough about emotional abuse. And that is a silent killer, as most times it's not tangible. Wow.
No, Messi,
Wow.
it's Chinwoku.
Oh, it's Chinwe. Sorry. No. Oh, I saw Messi. My mistake.
Messi said true.
Oh, Messi said true. It's Chinwe. Chinwe. Yes, it's Chinwe that said that. I'm so sorry. Chinwe Maju said, this is a vital issue in today's marriages. So Chinwe is speaking, physical abuse is a serious problem, but we don't speak enough about emotional abuse. And that is a silent killer, as most times is not as tangible. You talked about emotional abuse. Can we piggyback on Chinwe's comment and maybe shed a bit more light on this emotional abuse? what is it really? How does it manifest, you know? What does it look like when somebody is emotionally abused?
So, earlier on, I said that, you know, emotional abuse could be verbal.
Verbal.
Yes, and it could be non-verbal.
So can we take the verbal? What does that look like? Verbal abuse.
Okay. Verbal abuse doesn't necessarily have to come with raised voices and shouting and all of that good stuff, right?
But could it be that?
It could be.
Shouting,
and it could be,
raised voice. Okay.
It may not be.
Okay, okay.
So we all know that when you shout and you raise your voice and you scream, it is abusive.
Okay.
So I will not spend time on that.
Okay.
Now, the cool, calm one, where your words cut through the other party and you belittle the person and make the person feel less of a human being. You know, okay, so let's say, for instance, you know, I can't cook.
Right, right.
But I can cook. I'm a very good
Not
cook.
you, just hypothetically.
But, now let me take myself.
Okay, take yourself, yes.
Let's say I can't cook.
Uh-huh.
But I have gone out of my way to go into the kitchen.
Right.
To prepare a meal because I love you as my husband.
Right.
Right? And you can see that I'm struggling. You know, and I come up with a meal. And, you know, you taste it and it doesn't taste as good as maybe what your mom can cook. And I know your mom cooks very well.
Okay.
You know, I don't expect you to tell me, oh my gosh, Azuka, what trash. It's the truth. You didn't scream. You didn't tell me waka shege.
Right.
But that's going to hurt my feelings. You've told me the truth.
Well, sorry, what did I say, for example?
This meal doesn't, maybe it's too salty, it's too peppery, it's too cold, it doesn't taste good.
Okay, it doesn't taste good.
It doesn't taste good. You know, it is the truth. You didn't lie. You didn't scream about it. You didn't tell me that I'm an idiot. It's going to make me feel very bad. Okay? So, on the flip side, so I've talked about, you know, a wife, you know, strong. She did her best. This is the best she can do.
Right.
You know, it could swing the other way as well.
Okay.
You know, the man is he's struggling. Maybe he just lost his job or he just got a pay cut, and he goes and he buys a 10,000 naira Ankara for the wife on her birthday. She could, without screaming or calling him an idiot or anything, she could just look at the Ankara and say, oh my gosh, this thing is cheap. But that's what he can afford. So this is cheap stuff. It's better you didn't buy anything.
She may even add something like, see, don't you see what my friends' husbands are buying for them?
Even if she doesn't say any of that, even if she doesn't compare the husband to anybody, just mere looking at the fabric and say, what is this? It's not, you know, all those popular, expensive, you know, fabrics that women wear. It's just a cheap 10K fabric. She may say, you finish looking at if you knew you didn't have money, you shouldn't have bought anything.
Wow.
She didn't scream. She didn't, but that cuts deep. That is emotional abuse. You know, it's going to touch anybody's soul. You know, I have a friend who, you know, she got married to this guy. Of course, the guy he was dating somebody before he married her.
Okay.
And the person had a child, you know, for him.
All right.
And one day they were having an argument, and the guy said, I should have married that other girl, not you. He didn't beat her. He didn't shoot her.
Right.
That word, I don't think she has forgiven him, and he said it 20-something years ago. Something she just cannot get over. He said it, I should have married and for saying that, he thought he had been thinking about it. And he thought about it. And he felt, oh my gosh, I've made a mistake. And so in the heat of the moment, you know, the statement came out. That is beyond, you know, it's like taking a knife and stabbing, you know, your spouse.
Yeah.
So those are some of the ways that, you know, words, you know, can be abusive. Now, giving the non-verbal parts, giving this cold shoulder, silent treatment, there are lots of couples, they live in the same house. They don't talk to each other. They could be in the same house for weeks and months. And they don't say a word, you know, to each other. Meanwhile, when their phone rings, they will talk to their families, they will talk to their friends, they will talk to their colleagues at work, they will laugh, they will be animated. But once they hang up, it's like you're not there. So you've not said anything. You can't accuse the person of saying, yo, you can't cook, or or you bought a cheap fabric or anything. It's like you don't exist. That could affect, you know, the psyche of, you know, the partner. And it's something that needs to be addressed in a lot of marriages.
Right.
You know, I think it was one of the callers that talked about communication.
Communication.
I don't know if it was Dorcas or you know, somebody talked about communication.
Yeah, it was Dorcas, yeah.
It's very important to communicate in marriage or in any relationship. To communicate. When we first, you know, got married, we didn't know how to communicate. You know, like most people, you know, most newly, you know, married couple, we didn't know how to communicate. We had to learn how to communicate. I remember, marriage, you know, counselors and families would intervene and would say, okay, when one person is talking, jot down your points. You know, have your points in, you know, in bullet points. Don't interrupt.
Right.
You know, think through what you want to say. I remember my sister Verisa telling me, you know, Azuka, focus on the issues that you want to talk about. You know, don't raise your voice and scream and, you know, and say things that are irrelevant that you will turn around and apologize for. Meanwhile, Chike is the wrong, you know, is the offender here. So be smart, you know, stay on point, focus on the issues. Right. You know, this is what I expected to be done. It didn't happen. You know, when you begin to add, you're always doing that. You're never serious. You are an unserious human being. You begin to label the person. You begin to give the person names and labels, and you deflect from what the issue is, and you know it begins to cause conflict. Right.
On Facebook we have Joe Max. He says there's another kind of emotional abuse that involves the beautiful use of intelligence to intimidate and belittle one's partner. It devours every bit of the guts of the partner. The most painful part of this is the abuse may never have a single way of presenting the case. The abused person may never have a single way of presenting the case, all thanks to intelligent ways of transporting this genre of abuse. Interesting. I wish Joe Max would call in and shed light on what he's talking about here. You know, a beautiful use of intelligence to intimidate and belittle one's partner.
Yes, I understand what's, you know, I can give examples.
Okay.
You know, when we first got married, Chike is a lawyer, like he always reminds us every show, you know. California licensed barrister in Nigeria. I'm like, okay.
Like, so what?
Yeah, like, okay, we get it.
What are we going to do with that? Who cares anyway?
When we first got married, you know, and I used to feel like I was on a witness stand. Chike would tell me, you know, just stick to the facts. What are the facts of what you're presenting? You know, no, let's stick to the facts. And one day I'm like, you know, what facts? I don't have no facts. I know how I feel, you know, and I'm going to talk about how I feel.
Oh, you know? My God.
And I actually told you, I am not a criminal on a witness stand.
Right.
Play this lawyer with me. I don't have any facts. This is how I feel. I don't know why I feel this way. There must be something that you're doing that I don't like. So I think that's what Joe Max is saying. You know, you are intelligent. You are a lawyer. You are trained. You are trained in California. You're trained in Nigeria. You're very smart. You've read a lot of things. You know, so you can use that intelligence to intimidate your spouse.
Right.
You know,
right.
and your spouse will start wondering, maybe, yes, so he's right. He used some big words. You know, resilience, this, that. I don't know that book. Maybe, I don't know what I'm saying.
Oh my God.
So
that's what he's talking about here.
What
Intelligence to intimidate and belittle one's partner.
Yes.
Ladies and gentlemen, we've had a great time on the show today. I think we definitely need a part 2. We're running out of time. It's about 8:07 now, 3 minutes on the show. We started late. Again, we want to apologize. I've had a fantastic time on the show. Maybe it's because my wife is here today. I feel awesome. You know what I'm saying? And we need a part 2. I'm going to have to. You guys will have to help me beg her to come back so that we can finish this part 2. But you know, we want you to go like, share this video, send it to somebody. We're going to have a part 2 definitely because we have so much more to talk about. What about the solutions? We've talked about a lot of the causative factors. This is the Chike Onyia Speaks live talk show. We're broadcasting here from Lagos, Nigeria. You know, we love you guys today from London, from Canada, from the US, from Abuja, Owerri, wherever you're. My special guest today, I want to say a big thank you to my wife. Thank you,
honey. Are we giving out money today?
Debbie, you want to give us some money? Oh, my wife wants to give us some money. 091 6000 2661 091 6000 2662. We got to throw out a question out there. Okay, let me see whether we had like 10 questions prepared. So let me see. Question number 1. Let's see.
No, let me pick the question.
You want to pick the questions? Okay.
I want to pick one question.
She wants to pick one question. Okay. My executive assistant, if you're there, can you send those? Let me see. I have those questions here. Okay. She's going to send them to me. 091 6000 2661. Sorry, my dear. I wasn't even thinking about those questions. They're here somewhere. I'm going to find them in a minute. Right? Ogechi, can you send those questions to me right now on WhatsApp? Where are those questions? Can you send them to me? My wife wants to ask a question. Okay, can you send them? Honey, can you think about any question? We're looking for those questions. Sorry, we did not plan for questions. But can you think about a question out there? I'm going to find it. I will find it. 091.
Okay, so this is a very easy question.
Okay, what's the easy question? And how much are you going to give out?
Which, I'm going to give out 50,000 naira.
Wow. Okay, see, we got the questions. She's going to give out 50,000 naira. Wow. Are you saying to one person?
Yes.
Just to one person?
Just to one person, the lucky person.
Wow. She's going to give out 50,000 naira to one person.
So we're in the spirit. Number 5 is what I want to.
You want to ask number 5? She's going to give out 50,000 naira. My God. Wow. Wow. Okay. Go ahead.
Go ahead and read the question.
No, you read the you want to ask the question,
no,
right?
Says I. So
okay.
I
is it me or you?
I.
No, do you want to ask about you or me?
No, you is your
okay.
show.
So it's my show. Listen to me. I am from the southeastern part of Nigeria. What southeastern state am I from? That's the question. I am from the southeast of Nigeria. What state am I from? My wife, not me. Oh. My wife, no, somebody will come in and say, Mr. Onyia, you promised money. I didn't promise anything, no. She's going to give 50,000 naira to the lucky caller. 091 6000 2661 or 091 6000 2662. Hello, good evening.
Good evening, sir.
Okay, what is your name? Where are you calling from?
My name is Lawal Halima. I'm calling from
This Halima.
Lagos.
Hey, this girl, she's like Halima. She has won so much money from this show. All right, Halima, what state is Mr. Onyia from? Chike Onyia.
I'm just gonna get. I don't know. I'm gonna get Abia State.
Abia State. Okay, let's keep going. Let's keep going. 091 6000 2661. 091 6000 2662. What state in Nigeria, the southeastern part of Nigeria, where is Mr. Chike from? Hello, good evening. 50,000. Are we going to end this show without this money going out? Right? Are we going to 091? I guess people don't know. People don't know my state. Oh my God. 091 6000 2661. 091 6000 2662. Another 60 seconds on this show. We got to close the show. If we don't get a caller, let me use my timer here. We're going to give you 60 seconds. If you don't call in 60 seconds, we're going to close this show. 091 6000 2661. Hello, good evening.
Good evening, sir.
Good evening. Your name, where are you calling from?
Toby, sir.
Who?
Toby from
Toby from where?
Lagos.
Okay, which state am I from?
Sir.
Eh?
After you from
I didn't hear you.
After you from
Akwa Ibom. Okay, Akwa Ibom. All right, let's keep going. 091 6000 2661 or 091. Hello, good evening. All right, we have 25 seconds to go. We're going to close this show. 09. What state? I'm definitely not from Akwa Ibom. I'm not from Abia State. Hello, good evening.
Hello?
Good evening. Hello, what is your name?
My name is Naomi.
Naomi, what state is Mr. Chike from?
Anambra.
I'm not from Anambra State. Our time is up. Ladies and gentlemen, we just lost 50,000. Oh my God. Nobody knows my state. I am from Enugu State. Enugu State. My village is Udi. Udi town. Udi Kponkwem. Ezechime one of Udi.
I thought it was a very easy.
You thought it was very easy. Oh my God. 50,000 naira gone down the drain. I am from Enugu State. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much. So we had people actually listening, man. When the money came, they started calling in. Forget the physical abuse and emotion. I want this 50,000 naira, right? Thank you so much for joining us on the show today. I promise you I'm going to beg my wife to come on part 2. Honey, you want to close this show for us?
Okay, well, thank you so much for hanging out with us for these 60 minutes. It's been an awesome show. I really enjoyed myself. This is the Chike Onyia Speaks live talk show, and the goal remains changing one life and one family at a time. See you next week. Have an awesome weekend.
Good night, and we love you. God bless you.
you.